maple and brown sugar oatmeal, low sugar, dehydrated blueberries and bananas, and some pecan pieces. Fantastic. Starting out on day 2 of my trip, my Boundary Waters trip. Here on Skipper Lake. Slept well last night. I was afraid it was going to be a little bit too warm, so I decided to use that little cotton sheet sleeve that my wife made for me to put my thermarest in for nights like last night. I decided to use that as a sleeping bag. Well, it was sewn for a thermarest, not for a human body, so it was awfully tight, but it did work pretty well. I did get a little bit, just tiny bit chilly partway through the night, so I threw my sleeping bag on top of me, used it as a quilt, opened it up and used it as a quilt on top of me, slept real nicely after that. So I had a good night's sleep. I managed to find a spot where I could sleep and avoid all the roots and rocks and all the rest of it. Of course, the fact that I got up at 2 o'clock yesterday morning and didn't go to bed until about 9:30 last night, that helped the sleeping quite a bit, but had a good comfortable night's sleep. So kind of taking my time with my breakfast here. I don't have a lot of distance to cover today, so I thought I'd just take my time and hope that there's some campsites open at my destination lake. I think there's like 5 campsites on the lake I'm going to. Not really, I can't really remember for sure, 4 or 5. So hopefully I'll find one open over there. If not, then it's 3 more portages to get to the next lake over. But I've decided that this year I'm going to kind of relax and take my time a little bit more than what I have in the past. I think that's what's been my problem with these 2-week trips, is I feel like it's rush, rush, rush. Rush to do this, rush to do that, rush to do the other. And I think that's why I wasn't enjoying it so much. So decided on this trip I'm going to slow down, smell the roses a little bit more, enjoy myself. And big problem or a big concern is still going to be whether there's going to be campsites at the end of the day, every day. So I'm not really rushing to get out of here this morning. I got up about 6:30 or so. Still having my breakfast. I'm going to have to pack everything up in my barrels pretty well because there's squirrels all over the place. And no Sam to keep them at bay. I'll finish my breakfast, put things in the barrel, go back and wash my dishes, clean my teeth, do all that kind of good stuff. And then I'll start tearing down camp. Good thing is there's not a lot to tear down. There's just my tent that I've got to, well, I got to pack everything up in the tent, of course. Take the tent down, roll it up, and that'll be done. I haven't listened to the radio yet today, but I know yesterday they were talking about rain for this evening and overnight. Actually, thunderstorms after midnight was what they were saying. And then tomorrow is supposed to be showers off and on. Hope I find a really nice campsite to stay on for a couple of nights. Well, as I predicted yesterday, these things are bone dry today. No problems them drying out at all. Socks are dry too. Oh, such a joy to put dry socks and shoes on. Not that it really matters today because it's so nice and warm anyway. Well, it's so warm. I don't know about the nice part. But it's definitely warm. I'm going to try the socks one more time. See if they get any more comfortable. Well, I shouldn't say one more time. I'm going to try them again. Of course, with the temperatures being so high, getting my feet completely wet is not really an issue. I decided to do something I don't normally do today. I'm going to wear shorts. The big issue is the potential of sunburning my legs, especially my upper legs. Actually, the socks don't feel quite so bad today. The way it was so bad yesterday. Anyway, almost packed up, ready to go. Just a few last minute items to put in and pack up, including this chair that I'm sitting on. I'll be ready to start taking stuff down to the canoe.
looking for the first portage of the day. 21 router from Skipper into Little Rush Lake. Looks like it could be something off to the right here. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay. I remember reading about a portage that is usually you can paddle through, but it becomes a rocky mess in low water. I couldn't remember which portage it was, but it could be this one. In any case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 trips on this one. First trip, I'm taking my equipment pack, my thwart bag, and a couple of cameras. At least the bottom is solid. Some slippy rocks though. Maybe I shouldn't have come this way. Let's try a different route here. Yeah, I'm sort of seeing a trail here. Here we go. So here's Little Rush Lake. Oh boy, that landing doesn't look very nice. Lots of mud. Lots of mud. So this is Little Rush Lake. Short little paddle. And then we hit our second portage of the day, which is supposed to be a 60 rodder into Rush Lake. Maybe I can get through the other side of these rocks up here. The wind will let me get there. So this is still a little rush. Huh. Looks like a portage landing over there. Maybe what I took wasn't the portage at all. Huh. Yeah. The people had apparently been across it. But, huh. Yeah, I did a lot of I did a lot of extra work for nothing. I guess the portage was down the other arm after all, from what the map shows. Oh well, it's done now. Apparently a fire went in here a while back. Number of years ago. I'll have to investigate that when I get back home. Okay. Enough lollygagging. Let's get serious about paddling now. Okay, we're on Little Rush Lake. I'm coming up to the portage to Rush Lake. It's pretty obvious. This is a 51 rod. Too bad. Not too long, anyway. Or, no, 60 rods. Wouldn't be too bad of a landing if it wasn't for low water. Rush right now. Wind's picking up out of the west. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. Thanks to the lack of the yoke. Completely modified. Staying here on Rush Lake. Take a day trip over to Banadad. Maybe day trip up to One Island Lake. This portaging, even that 60 rodder that I had to do. Portaging without that yoke is just, well, it's no joke. Campsite right in front of us there. Looks like a nice one. So we're supposed to be getting storms tonight. So I'm kind of thinking it might be a little bit too exposed to the weather in a storm. I decided to try to stay on Rush Lake if I can. Pass up the one open campsite. There's one at the far end of this one long arm that I'm hoping is open. For one thing, it'll provide some solitude. But on the other hand, if it's taken, I've got a long ways to paddle back. The third campsite on the lake, saw a canoe paddling near it. This looks like the campsite right here, I think. Not necessarily. That does show a point before you get to the campsite. That's probably that point. I'll look at the map a little closer. Yep, this is the campsite. There's the grate. This is to find a decent place to land. Well, this isn't the most ideal campsite in the world. I've been on a lot better, but of course I've been on worse ones too. At least it's nice and secluded back here, and it's a site that people aren't going to be coming back to very often either, so I'll have it nice and secluded to myself. Stay here for 2 nights anyway. Like I said, not the best campsite for spending time on, but I'll do it for 2 nights. Not sure what I'll do on Sunday now, whether I'll move on to Banadad, just take a day trip out to Banadad, or start heading back out. I have decided I am not going to do the 2-week loop that I set out to do. It's just too painful portaging that canoe without the yoke, and it's taking too much time. So does mean I'm going to have to do that 320 rod portage again on the way out. I guess I did it on the way in, so I can do it back again. If there was more campsites on Skipper, I would think about moving back to Skipper. I hate to get there and then find out that that campsite's taken and I have to take the 320 all in one shot. Now that I know the correct portage for getting to Skipper from Little Rush, maybe that one won't take so long as it did on the way here. Boy, definitely wish I had brought that yoke along. I don't know. Really bad news here. Anyway, I am still in the Boundary Waters. I am still enjoying myself. Just not as much as I would have otherwise. Anyway, there's the view down the lake. Of course, I can't zoom in on it, but yeah, nice view down the lake. That's to the east, so that's going to be nice for morning shots. Except for tonight, spaghetti with meatloaf sauce. Always a good meal. I'd opened this at home because I was thinking about repackaging it into some bags that were a little bit more packable. Only to discover that the bags I had were too small for the task. So I wanted to eat it fairly early in the trip, but of course I had to have stroganoff last night, so I'm having spaghetti tonight. And that's alright, because I do like spaghetti. I'm waiting for my food here. I pretty much decided, well, I've already told you that I've
decided not to do the whole loop. But I think I might actually stay at this campsite. Not a real good campsite. I don't know, maybe Sunday. Maybe I'll have to look and see if there's another campsite open on the lake to move to. We'll see how the next 2 nights go and decide then whether to move to another campsite or not. I definitely want to take advantage of a nice day on Sunday to explore a little bit. Monday's supposed to be raining again, and then Tuesday it's back to being nice, at least the last I heard on the radio. I haven't checked anything since then. So I'm thinking of hanging around until Tuesday. Carrying that canoe without the yoke is just killing my back. It's going to be nice to have a day off tomorrow. Let my back recover a little bit before I have to go through it again. But there's no way I can do a 2-week trip carrying that canoe without a yoke. It just isn't going to happen. So yeah, I'm staying here for now. Battening down the hatches tonight for the storm that's supposed to come through. And like I said, probably sitting tight in camp most of the day tomorrow. There's a chance that I might be able to get out and do some paddling around the lake tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon. Don't know, or tomorrow evening. We'll have to see how long the rain stays around. It is a beautiful lake. I would like to get around and paddle a little bit. Today, I don't know, the winds were, you've heard of light and variable winds. Well, today the winds were heavy and very variable. They'd come from one direction and with a big gust, and then it calmed down a little bit, and then it'd come from another direction, a big gust. It just couldn't make up its mind what it was going to do, except that it would keep gusting. So it was making it really, really tough to paddle, which is part of the reason I decided not to go on to Banadad. Definitely want to get over there on a day trip. I've heard it's a nice lake, pretty lake. Definitely get over there on a day trip, but there's only, a 10-rod portage between this lake and that lake. I think something like that. Fairly short portage. So as long as I'm traveling relatively lightly, hopefully I can carry the canoe for 10 rods. And like I said, it sounds like Monday's going to be another rest day because it's supposed to be raining again. And then I'll look at bugging out on Tuesday. Not sure how long it's going to take me to get out of here with conditions. What I might do on Tuesday, I'll have to see what the forecast is for Wednesday. But what I might do on Tuesday is go back, and if the campsite is open on Skipper, I'll stay there again one night, and then I only have to tackle the mile-long portage the next day. Instead of having to try to do that and the other 2 portages all in one day. Of course, I found out that one portage that I took was the wrong one. Hopefully the right one is a lot easier to take. So, well, we'll find out. Let's see, I came in on Thursday, so if I go out on Wednesday, that's a week-long trip. That's fine. If I go out on Tuesday, it's just a day shorter, so we'll just have to play it by ear and see what the weather is doing and what the campsite situation is when I start heading back. So anyway, that's enough of me yammering for now. I'll show you on the map in a little while what I did today. I think it's probably about time. Not quite time for my spaghetti now. Looks like I did it perfectly again. Alright. and good. So let me show you what I did today, which wasn't much. Started here on Skipper Lake. Got kind of a late start because I took my time getting organized. Came over to do this 21 rod portage. The map here shows 2 bays off the west end of this this lake, and it shows the portage on that south bay. So I went in there to go across that portage, and it was tough getting to the portage, but I chalked that up to the low water levels. There was a definite path in there. I was not the first one to go through, and so I struggled across that portage, came out into Little Rush Lake, came around the corner here, and I saw a very distinct portage landing for another portage up in here that obviously goes to the north bay of Skipper Lake. And then I paddled across Little Rush Lake, got to this portage here, decided to have lunch. So there was a nice big landing there, so I just pulled my stuff off to the side and had lunch. While I was there was a couple that came in from this direction heading out, but just after them there was another couple that came in and landed there, and I talked to them. I asked them if they took the right portage or the wrong portage back here, and they said they took the wrong portage too. Same thing I saw. They came across that portage, worked like heck to get across there, and then came around the corner and saw where the portage should have been. So they knew exactly what I was talking about. So after lunch I did the 60 rod portage into Rush Lake. By the time I got done, my shoulders were just aching like crazy from carrying the canoe. Came across Rush Lake. The winds were starting to pick up, very gusty, different directions. I decided I wanted to stop on Rush Lake. Now this campsite here was empty, but it was fairly high off the water, very exposed, and we're supposed to be getting storms tonight, so I decided that was not a good site to weather a storm on. I knew from bwca.com that this site down here is not very good. So I decided that left me these 2 sites here. As I was coming up to this point here, I could see another canoe over in here. I'm not sure if they were going for that site or not, but I remember reading again on bwca.com that this site down here was a good one to go to if you wanted solitude. So I came this way. It's not the greatest site in the world, especially for tent pads, but I'm going to make do. By the time I got down here, I didn't have any energy left to paddle all the way back and around the corner anyway. And especially if that campsite was taken, it would mean that I would have to go over to Banadad and hope that I could find a good campsite over there. So I decided to stay here. So that's where I am. After I got here, I slowly got camp set up. I threw up a tarp first of all, because again I know it's supposed to rain tonight. Then I went for a swim. Not the best swimming here. It's all the rocks are pretty well covered with gunk, so when you walk on them, the water just gets churned up, and not as good as swimming as it was over on Skipper last night or yesterday. But I went in, got wet, got cooled down. Eventually I got my tent set up, I don't have anything in it yet, but I got the tent set up, including the rainfly. And I have the rainfly all guyed out because of the strong winds tonight. I've got the canoe tied down. And also, almost from the time I got here, I got my solar stuff out, and I started getting batteries recharged. And I've got to say that it's going a lot better than it was last year. Last year I was using a 50 watt hour power pack. I recently bought a 100 hour power pack. I also was using a 14 watt panel last year. I now have a 20 watt panel, and I also am still using the 14 watts, so I'm putting them in series, so I have a total of 34 watts of solar power anyway. So I'm able to keep the power pack pretty well charged up. It's not fully charged, but it's fairly well charged up, and got some batteries charged. So like I said, it's working out a lot better than last year so far. Of course, today was mostly sunny, so it was. I had that in my favor too that I didn't have last year. So anyway, things are, other than forgetting to bring my yoke along, things are actually going fairly well this year. Like I said, I definitely cannot complete the loop I had intended to do without that yoke. So I'll stay here make it a week, maybe 8 days trip, depending on what the weather does, and whether I get fed up with this site or not, and whether I find somewhere else to go to instead. So that's what I know for now. So I'll talk to you later. Okay, there's a couple of new pieces of gear that I keep meaning to mention. First one is this life straw. Basically has a water filter in a bottle. So as I'm going paddling across the lake and I'm running low on water, I can just dip it into the bottle, and I've got water I can drink. Works out very nicely. The other thing I got, and let's see, let me take you up to the tarp here. So here's my tarp set up, and here's my other piece of gear that's helping to make my life easier. I got one of these Sawyer squeezes that is also can be used as a hanging bag or a hanging system. So been using that instead of pumping to get my water now. I mean, most other people have been doing this for years. So I finally broke down and got one, and it's been working very nicely. Fills my. The only problem is I have a little bit of a problem filling the bag from a lake, because being a soft-sided bag, it doesn't hold its shape, so water pressure keeps it from filling up. But other than that, it's working out nice, and fills up my Nalgene bottle in no time flat, which is good. I brought my pump along this time anyway, just in case, but so far this is working out real well for me. I did have to, the tube that came with the
with the filter was only about 4 or 5 inches long, which wasn't very usable. So I'm glad I brought my pump filter with me, because I'm using the hose from it. But other than that, it's working out well. So let me take you through here. I've got the tarp set up pretty much right across the path. It's also in what was probably the best tent site, but I knew I needed to have a good setup for my tarp, and that was the best place I could find to do that. So here's my tent set up back in here. As you see, I've got the rainfly on this time, and I have it all guyed out and everything, so it's pretty well protected back in here. It's all young trees, nothing dead. Of course, there was that one storm that hit me on my last year's trip that took down a tree about like these are. So I'm not going to be completely safe, but at least there's no obvious widowmakers here. So here's the other side of my tent here. It just barely fit in there. It's on quite a bit of a slope, so I'm gonna have to see how comfortable it is. Oh, my back is so sore, so achy from carrying that canoe that I can barely even hold the camera. It's starting to hurt just holding the camera up. So now I've still got some putting away to do, tidying up. As you can see, probably down there by the canoe, I have my solar panels still deployed, even though there's no sun left. Speaking of sun, looks like it's about time to start taking some pictures, because the sun's hitting that far shore really nicely now. So I'm going to quit talking, and I'm going to see about getting some pictures taken. Well, it's getting on for 9:30, and I've pretty much got the tent ready for going to bed, hoping that things don't get too wild tonight. I've got plenty of light above me. I've got 2 Lucy lights and another rechargeable light up there, so you definitely can see me tonight. I'm hoping things don't get quite as wild as what they say they can, but got everything pretty well battened down just in case. I've left my tent fly vestibules wide open. Well, not wide open, but open. So if I get woken up with some thunder before the rain hits, I'll have to zip them up real quick just to make sure. Most of the time, I have not gotten wet inside here, even with that open. But there's been 1 or 2 times where it's at least gotten into the tent door a little bit. So just to be on the safe side, I will zip it down. So anyway, this is the end of the day, August 20th, 2021. And going to say good night, and I'll see you in the morning. By morning anyway. So, yep, good night. The rain has started.